Congressman Robert Aderholt represents the 4th Congressional District of the state of Alabama. He has been representing us for a number of years now, ably as a Republican. He's the senior member, I believe, of our Alabama House delegation, and he's also a senior member, a ranking member on the Committee on Appropriations. And I'm going to get the word from him right now as to what he believes is going to happen with the big, beautiful bill. Congressman Robert Aderholt, how are you doing, sir?
Hey, good afternoon, Phil. Good to be with you.
Good to have you. Thank you for making time. I appreciate it. This was kind of the spur of the moment thing. The Senate got it passed, and I reached out to you right away, and appreciate you being able to come in on short notice. So thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. I'm actually sort of on standby. I've been the last 2 or 3 days. I've been just on standby, waiting to see what was going to happen on the Senate side. We expected this to actually pass over the weekend, if not before. And of course, as know you've been following, and your listeners too, it's drug on for quite some time. So it'll finally over into the House, and right now the information that I am getting, that we could have a vote as early as 9 o'clock in the morning. 9 o'clock we'll start debate, and then a vote thereafter. So the first vote will be on the rules. We always vote, unlike the Senate, which one of the reasons that they were going through all these, I don't know what word of the machinations that they've been going through over the last few days, is because they don't really have a rule, and therefore any senator can bring up an objection and therefore object to it. So, and they needed every vote on it. In the Rules Committee, we set out what the parameters of the debate will be, and then we move forward.
Okay.
And of course, obviously, it is going to be, we have to get the votes for a rule, but and that'll be the first vote that we'll have tomorrow to decide whether this bill passes or fails.
Well, I mean, I'm hearing a mixed bag. I mean, you guys have already passed it once, so I think a lot of the heavy lifting was done, but there were changes made in the Senate. By the way, let me ask you this first of all, to your understanding, and I realize a lot of it's still fresh, how much was made in the way of changes from the House version?
There were several changes that were made, as you mentioned, but there were a lot of things that stayed in place. And we are still trying. I'm still trying to make sure that I've got a good handle on all of the changes from our version to the Senate version. But I do know, the basic things that are in this bill is that it's a reporting requirement for Medicaid. It requires Medicaid recipients to prove their eligibility twice a year instead of annually. And the expanded work requirements are included, but exempts caregivers for dependent children or for pregnant women, among others. But of course, obviously, what everybody has been talking about is the fact that this saves the 2017 Trump tax cuts.
Right.
And it makes sure that we can go forward and not face a $4 trillion tax increase on the American people, which is the highest ever peacetime tax increase that we've seen in this nation. And so it also guts a lot of the Biden agenda regarding the green energy tax credits. So that's always something that's been very, a lot of us that have wanted to see that. Also, it improves the, and something that I actually was involved in was the adoption tax credit.
Oh, yeah.
It allows up to $5,000 to be refundable to people who are going through adoptions. As you know, adoptions can be very expensive, and this increases that number to allow more, up to $5,000 to be allowed on your taxes for an adoption. And so this is great news for all of us who believe in the importance of the family and try to encourage adoption. I am the co-chair in the House of the Adoption Caucus, and this is something that is great news, I think, for everybody who supports adoption. And quite honestly, I think everybody supports adoption in some form or fashion. And then it also, this no tax on tips is included in this, and then no tax on overtime.
Right.
So there is a lot of good things in this bill.
I think there are a lot of things for border security. I know we're built in, and then there's issues.
Yes, $46.5 billion.
Yeah. Let me ask you, one of the points of contention appears to be the spending cuts. House sent out its version that had spending cuts, which, you know, there were those who thought it still wasn't enough, and those who thought that they had met their requirement, and those that just had to go ahead and swallow it and take it. And everybody's got their different opinion. But now the spending cuts are different coming back. I just saw a moment ago, right before you came on the air, the Freedom Caucus is now saying this bill could take some time, and they are expressing concern that the spending cuts are not what they agreed to as it left the House before. What are your thoughts right now? The Freedom Caucus, are they going to be able to get behind the bill? They did once, but are they going to get it again?
Well, and you raise a very good question, because first of all, let me say there is no perfect bill that comes out of any legislative body that's run by man. You know that from your time working in a legislative body. I know that there's always some issue in every bill. So what we have to be careful is make sure that we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Obviously, there's things that those of us in the House, we wanted to see the spending levels to be lower, but you know we certainly don't want to have the largest tax increase in American history either.
Yeah.
So that's the fine line. But at the end of the day, I think the Freedom Caucus will be on board, and you know I think of us all wanting to make sure that we pay attention to out of control spending. It's not just the Freedom Caucus. I think it's every Republican member of Congress does. So I think we're all concerned about that, but at the same time, we certainly want to make sure that we try to fund the border wall, that we put more money in for defense. The Golden Dome is included in this. The adoption tax credit, as I mentioned. There's just so many good things in this bill that we can, I think, say is a job well done in this bill. And again, it's not perfect, but neither is any bill that I have ever seen come out of Washington, D.C. or a legislative body.
No, that's
so. I think it may take some time. I just don't know what's going to happen with the rule vote tomorrow. I know earlier some of the members were threatening to vote against the rule and take down the rule if it increased some of the spending that obviously is actually in the bill. But you know, the president is very keen on getting this passed. If you support President Trump and his policies, then the vote is a yes vote tomorrow, even on the rule.
And Congressman, let me ask you, one of the things that's been talked about a lot is the increase to the debt limit. And I pointed out to some folks yesterday that while that may be frustrating, I get it. It does not mean it's an increase in the debt. It's like putting an extra balance on the credit card. You have space on the credit card, so to speak. It doesn't mean you spend it. Although, you know, there's always the fear that it could get spent. But the reality is that is not what's happening right now. When we say we're increasing the debt limit, if you might want to explain that for a minute, what we're really doing is just raising the amount of space on the credit card, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I think you said it very well. It's just increases the ceiling by $5 trillion. And of course, obviously, in a perfect world, we would not increase the debt ceiling by $1. But the president feels very strongly. I was in a meeting with him about a month ago, and he feels very strongly that he doesn't want to get involved in our markets crashing. And he is concerned that if the debt ceiling is not raised to give us that flexibility, then we could have a market crash, and no one wants to see that. The economy tank, and so that's why we need to have that debt ceiling increase. But again, if the debt ceiling is increased, it doesn't mean that you reach the ceiling. It just means that the ability is put in there so that we can have that flexibility.
Okay, and last question, if you know, because I think everything's fairly fresh, but there is talk on social media, and I take that with a big grain of salt. There's talk on social media that towards the end of the Senate's vote-a-rama, that the parliamentarian had decided that the removal of the provision that would have prevented Medicaid to illegal aliens was taken out. Do you know whether it has or not?
I do not know that. That will be something I will check, but that is something that I know would be a big concern to everybody, and so we'll be taking a look at that. And like I said, my office, we're just now, because it's really been within hours that
Yeah.
since really lunchtime, right before lunchtime, that this final bill was put out. So we will be checking that because I know that's of interest to a lot of people. But I will say that this bill will give or will provide 46, actually over 46 billion in border funding, and that builds the wall while providing support for our agents and our officers. So, I mean, that's very important for those of us who support the border funding.
All right. Well, Congressman, listen, you guys got your work cut out for you. I'm sure the Senate's on their planes heading home, but you guys have got things to do trying to get this to the president before the 4th of July recess. So good luck to you, and thank you for the update today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks, Phil, and thanks for having me on, and we look forward to maybe after all this gets passed, we'll circle back with you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.